it's Jennifer from Shabby Fabrics. Today I'm going to show you how to use the Spinning Possibilities ruler available from Shabby Fabrics, designed right here. We are excited about the possibilities that this ruler provides. This is the Spinning 9-patch block and the Blue Sky collection from Andover Fabrics. I just fell in love with this collection, and I love the simplicity of it and the sophistication of it, and you're going to be amazed at just how easy it is going together with the Spinning Possibilities ruler. The first thing I definitely recommend is using some sizing in your fabric, because we will have some bias with these particular blocks. So I definitely recommend adding sizing to your fabric before you get cutting. Once you are ready to jump into your projects and everything's sized and ready to go, this is such an easy block. Most of the squares are simply 4.5-inch squares that you would just cut using any ruler, but I love using the Creative Grid ruler, and I'm going to start laying out my block. 4.5-inch squares, you'll need those here, and then we will be cutting those corners together. And I want to show you what I love about the Creative Grid rulers. As you know, in quilting, there's a lot of rulers on the market. What's one advantage over another? Well, what I love about the Creative Grid ruler is with a standard ruler, non-Creative Grid, I don't have really 1/2-inch measurements, 1.5, 2.5. I have to find those. I have to seek those out. With the Creative Grid ruler, everything that's in the black dots is based on 1/2-inch measurements, 1.5, half, 2.5, and so on. As you turn the ruler, everything that's in the solid numbers are whole numbers. In this case, I'll be cutting 4.5-inch squares, so I'm going to spin the ruler around, and I'm going to come to my fabric. I need 2 of those per block, and I'm not even going to line up on my table because I'm using the ruler. I go straight to 4.5. My fabric has already been squared up nicely, so I have a nice clean edge. 4.5 is my line here, and I have a nice little horizontal line here. I'm just going to make this cozy little corner here. And that's my 4.5, and it absolutely takes the guesswork out of it. Let me double check. This is cut 4.5, so 4.5, and it surely is. Those are 4.5. Now we will go ahead and just simply cut corner to corner, and that's what's here, just like that. Very straightforward. And with the spinning 9 patch, so that our seams would nest beautifully from block to block to block, we press the seams slightly different for the blocks that have the tan. Now this is available as a kit, of course. So whatever fabrics you may be using, maybe you're using the kit. If you're using the kit, you're going to be following my exact instructions. If you'll be using your own fabric, what I recommend is every other block is pressed one way, and every other block is pressed the other way, and that way everything nests beautifully. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but I want to show you how by pressing it that way we don't have any peaks and valleys. Everything's pressed nice, and as we sew the blocks together, we'll press the seam open. More about that as we jump into this. So when we sew these together, it's a simple 1/4-inch seam allowance, and at this point you're pressing toward the tan. Same here, you're going to press toward the tan. So if you're pressed this way, when you sew this block together, you'll press outward, and that way you'll have interlocking seams. Let me show you a block of that real quick. You can see. So here we go. Toward the tan for the top and bottom, and then away from the center for that. And then you'll simply sew the blocks together, pressing toward the middle. So once your block is like this, and we'll go ahead and use that block, this is when we get to use our fun ruler. We have been excited to have our own ruler here at Shabby Fabrics, and this is our first ruler, and we've got a couple projects, so this is fun. That's why we're calling it the Spinning Possibilities. We have 2 projects already, and more are coming. We'll be using the 17-inch mat. In all of my previous videos, you've seen me use a 12-inch spinning mat. Sometimes the project is bigger than the 12-inch, and therefore a larger spinning mat is needed. And so for that reason, I really love this larger mat. This might actually be the second time I've used this, but I love that larger mat so it's not draping off the edge. Notice this ruler here, how we have a nice square in the middle. So simply place that on that center square, and notice how the horizontal thick line is running through this seam, and the horizontal thick line is running through this and here. You are in the right location when you have that. This is the beauty of the spinning mat. I don't ever have to disturb my fabric. Now I think when I turned it and it bumped me, in that case I think I disturbed it, but I don't have to, as a matter of habit, pick up my block and move it. And I love that. I want everything to stay stationary because then I increase my accuracy. So that's all there is to making that block. So let's just cut one more. I want you to see how easy it is to use this ruler. Sometimes when I buy rulers, I really have to think about that, read the instructions. Sometimes it takes me a couple hours to figure out a ruler. This is very intuitive, and I love that you can just pick it up and use it. The square goes right in the middle, and by all means, this should be running right through our seams. It absolutely is. Let's cut. Cut again. Cut again. This is a brand new mat. I think it wants to spin along with me. Beautiful. Now I have the two. Just like that. So let's take a look. Yep, you can go any direction you want. If you like that slanting this way, you're going to slant that to the right. It could slant to the left, it's your preference. We slant them all to the right. So that's why I always like to double check. I like that orientation. And right sides together. When I have these, as you can imagine, you want those diamonds to be right on the money. This is where pinning comes into play. This is where having good pins comes into play. As you're sewing, let me do this in the proper orientation because we're going to sew this side, right? Let's double check that. Yep. We're going to sew down here. You will first come to that seam right there. What I want to do is I'm going to pin just behind that. And I'm going to let the pin extend into that pathway because I'm going to actually pin it a little bit lower. I want to get into that seam just slightly, and I'm going to leave that pin right there. So I'm going to come right up to it with the sewing machine. I would stop, remove my pin, and continue. Now with this one, again, we want to nail that spot. Same. And we're going to nail that spot. So now those important intersections are pinned. Take that to a sewing machine. Simply sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance. As you approach the pin, get as close as you comfortably can. Stop. Remove the pin. Continue down. Again, as close as you comfortably can be. Stop. Remove the pin and continue. And then we recommend you go ahead and press your seams open, and you'll continue to put your rows together, rows top to bottom, and sew your inner border and outer border out on the quilt. And of course, this is available as a free download. Be sure to click on either the link below that'll jump you to the page, that'll give you all your fabric requirements, or you can go to the Shabby Fabrics homepage, click on free patterns, that's at the very bottom of the homepage, and it'll also take you to the fabric requirement list. So I'd love to get some feedback. Hopefully you'll give me a thumbs up. If you have suggestions, we'd love to hear from you, and please be sure to subscribe. I'll see you next time.